Welcome to Smart Women Talk. This is your host, Katana Abbott. I'm a midlife millionaire coach and a certified financial planner, and I search the world for smart women and a few good men, including best-selling authors and thought leaders who are on that leading edge. So join us for conversations on money, business, health, and inspiration so you can live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Hi, everyone. This is Katana Abbott, and I want to welcome you all to Smart Women Talk. All month, we are exploring ways to slow down and reverse aging with leading experts in this area. Today, we're speaking with the fabulous founder of Yes to Success and Ageless Seminars, Debra Poneman. So get ready to take your notes because Debra and I are going to be sharing foods that speed up the aging process, foods that slow it down, and simple practices that you can do every day that not only slow down, but even stop and get this, reverse aging. And also, you'll love this. What damages our skin and eyes more than the sun? So you'll want to know that. For 4 decades, Debra Poneman, who is the best-selling author and founder of Yes to Success and Ageless Seminars, has shared her system that's been used by hundreds of thousands around the world to not only live with success and abundance, but deep happiness, profound self-love, and ageless radiance. Debra's clients have used her formulas to become mega successful entrepreneurs, renowned transformational leaders, New York Times bestselling authors, millionaires, billionaires, and even household names. Yet Debra feels that her greatest accomplishment is not only that she's helped so many live their dreams, but she's also helped them discover their great and vibrant beings that they truly, truly are. She has been my inspiration ever since I first met her. And she is one of our leading experts in our Smart Women community. And like so many others, I have taken her courses over and over, and she has literally changed my life. And so I am so excited to share her with you today. Welcome, Debra.
I love being with you. I'm so excited when you invite me to be interviewed, just so I could spend time with you.
Yes, it's so fun. So the thing that I want to point out, everybody can see how beautiful you are, and saying that you've been doing this for 40 years is a little bit crazy. And so how did you get into this thing about talking about ageless aging and reversing aging? What happened? I know you've helped all these people with success, including people like Janet Atwood and Marcy, who's been in the show, and Deepak Chopra. I mean, you have reached all these people, and then all of a sudden you're doing ageless aging. How did that happen?
Well, the truth is, I didn't just decide that I was going to teach anti-aging. I kind of went with the flow. I was happily teaching Yes to Success for 40 years. And by the way, for 10 years before that, I taught meditation full time. But whenever I would mention to people that I was about to hit the big 7-0, I'm past the big 7-0 now, but they would literally say, how do you do it? I would get inundated with emails, asking if it was really me, if this is really me, which it all is. It's actually me. And they say, you have no gray hair, you don't have any wrinkles, you speak from the stage for hours with no notes or on interviews with no notes. So instead of continuing to spend my life answering everybody's emails, I put together this 90-minute webinar that I called Ageless, but people wanted more. So I contacted my dear friend, Ronnie Newman, who is a Harvard-trained mind-body researcher specializing in anti-aging of the brain and the body, who I've known since the 70s when we were students at Washington University in St. Louis together in 1972. And I said, girl, we have got to teach people how to turn back the hands of time. And this woman is so credentialed. In fact, she was part of the team in the 1980s who did the research at Harvard on how meditation reversed the aging process. It was on the cover of Newsweek. People remember that cover. It said something like, have we found the fountain of youth? And so we just got together and we put together a weekend course. And now we've shared that knowledge with thousands of people around the world. That's the story.
And I've taken the Ageless course. I took it once and I'm taking it again now. And I've invited my Midlife Millionaire Solution group and I invited them to come take it with me. So then we can get together with your material because it's so important to have support and to be able to implement. Because so often, don't we just get all this information thrown at us? But then how do you actually step into it, try it, implement it, test it, and then share?
Yeah. And that's so brilliant because what Ronnie and I say to people is do it with a loved one. Start this with a friend or a partner or a daughter. And because then you can kind of hold each other's feet to the fire to continue doing these things that you know are better for your health, you know are better for slowing, stopping, and reversing aging of the brain and the body. But it's good to have a support system. But also when Ronnie and I teach the course, then afterwards we have meetings every couple weeks so that we do give people that support. And there's a Facebook group, but it is nice to do it with your friends and as well, or as you do with the people who are so committed to you and all of the incredible things that you teach about creating wealth. I create health, you create wealth. We're a great team.
But you know what? You say that, but so the whole premise of this idea of midlife mastery is health, wealth, and happiness. Because yes, I've been doing financial planning and helping people plan retirement income for 35 years. But if you don't have your health, none of it matters.
I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. You say there's some secrets to turning back time.
Well, the interesting thing is the secrets aren't all that secret because the way you turn back the hands of time are the same ways that you remain healthy or you become healthy in your teens and your 20s and your 30s and your 40s. And the earlier you start, the better. But it's the usual suspects: healthy diet, the right kind of exercise, rejuvenating sleep, a mindset that doesn't believe that you're going to fall apart when you turn 50 or 60, getting stress under control, avoiding toxins in your environment, all the things that you actually have control over. But I'll tell you what actually makes people age. The truth is that chronological aging is a given. 1 year we're 50, the next year, surprise, you're 51. There's not much you can do about that. But physiological aging is all about lifestyle choices. And you don't have to take my word for it, since there's overwhelming scientific evidence that when you eat certain foods, like, for example, foods with high glycemic indexes, foods that are rich in refined carbohydrates or sugars or processed meats filled with nitrates, they're going to generate free radicals at any age. And free radicals, if you don't know what they are, they're atoms that are missing an electron. So now it's called a free radical. And free radicals go around stealing electrons from other atoms to make themselves whole. And then that molecule oxidizes or ages. So to give you an example, it's like what happens when an apple turns brown. You cut the apple, electrons are separated from their electron pair. They steal electron from another atom and the atom oxidizes and the apple turns brown. That's what happens to our skin from free radical damage when we go out into the sun. Over-exercising, smoking causes free radical damage. And that's so preventable. Don't go in the sun. Don't smoke. Don't over-exercise. But I just thought of this other thing that I think is pertinent to your audience. Another way you age is when you sit around with your friends and you talk about your aches and pains. Because what we put our attention on is what grows in our life. What we think about comes about. I have to tell you, because I love research, my partner, Ronnie Newman, has made me fall in love with research. But my favorite piece of research ever was done by Professor Ellen Langer, who, by the way, was one of Ronnie's associates at Harvard. She led this study showing that mental decline with aging was not inevitable. Memory loss is not inevitable. It could be reversed. So the study she did was called the counterclockwise study, and it went like this. In 1979, she was just beginning her Harvard teaching career. She recruited a group of 8 men in their 70s for a 5-day stay at a retreat center in New Hampshire. And the men, they weren't in exceptionally bad health, but they weren't specimens of perfection. They were considered age appropriate health-wise. And so they moved a little bit slowly. They had aches and pains. They were easily tired. So the retreat center that the men went to, they walked in and they discovered when they arrived, it was a former monastery, but it was made over to look as the world looked in 1959 when they were in their 50s. Vintage programs were showing on TV like Lassie and My Three Sons, maybe Howdy Doody. 50s music was playing on the clock radios. How many of you had one of those? And more importantly, the men were treated as they would have been back then. No one offered to help them with their luggage or get them a blanket. And they were instructed to keep their conversation to topics they would have been discussing in 1959. Eisenhower in the White House, the Dodgers and the White Sox in the World Series. And they also put all of the mirrors were covered up so they wouldn't even get a glimpse of themselves as to how they looked now. And at the beginning of the 5-day span, Dr. Langer administered a series of physical and cognitive tests, and the results at the end were, as expected, on every single metric, the men's performance improved dramatically. And in many cases, by the end, the men's physical and cognitive acuity was back to what it was 2 decades before. So obviously, this study speaks volumes to the potential we have to change our health just by the power of our minds. And I'll just say one other thing, because I know you have more questions for me. I personally love that.
What the hell happened? I mean, it's crazy, just amazing.
Amazing. And you know why I love that story,
Yeah.
Tana? Because for many reasons. One is that don't sit around and complain with your friends about your aches and pains. Rather talk about what's exciting in life. When I'm around groups of women who are talking about their doctor's appointments and their partner's doctor's appointments and what medications they're on and how, they're going to get their cataract surgery and then they're going to get their knee surgery. And then it's like I go, hey, I actually got to run right now because I don't want it implanted in my brain that and their hair is falling out and just wait. I don't want that in my brain. I'm going to be 72 and I don't even ask people to carry my luggage. My mother was 90. She was this way. Nobody carried her luggage. She actually used to deliver Meals on Wheels to old people. She was in her 90s and the old people were in their 70s. So change your mindset. And that does so much towards anti-aging.
Are you saying that mindset is at the top of the list? And what about like exercise or what we put in our body?
Okay. Well, mindset is really important, but I would say if you still want to complain about your aches and pains and you're only going to do one thing, I would say change your diet. Start eating antioxidant foods. Get rid of the nitrates. We'll talk about white sugar in a minute, but antioxidant foods protect your cells from oxidizing. If you don't want free radical damage, because you can't avoid the sun, there are certain things that will cause free radical damage, pollutants in the environment that, you got to go out and breathe the air. Just like squirting lemon juice on an apple will prevent it from turning brown. If you eat things like blueberries, blackberries, red grapes, cherries, beets, we're mentioning a lot of red foods here, but also kale, spinach, broccoli, walnuts, pecans, all of those are antioxidant foods. They prevent the oxidation of your cells. And you want to make sure that they're organic, because one of the worst things that you can put into your body for free radical damage are pesticides and herbicides, major free radical damage. And the other thing is, if you only are going to do one thing in the realm of diet for better health, I would say to stop eating white refined sugar. It is probably the worst offender when it comes to actual brain inflammation. And brain inflammation is the main cause of your brain atrophying or aging too fast. And white refined sugar and foods that act the same in your system, like refined carbs, white bread, white pasta, they're causing inflammation that slows down communication between your brain neurons. It's what makes you feel dull and foggy and forgetful. And why did I walk in this room? And inflammation in the brain is serious because it means that nerve cells in the brain are not only retracting so they can't communicate anymore, but also if you overburden your brain with inflammatories, then those brain cells start dying, and it plays a significant role in not only memory loss, but even Alzheimer's, and in the body. Other degenerative diseases are spurred on by inflammation, like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, arthritis, osteoporosis, even some cancers. So start using healthy sugar substitutes like good organic stevia or monk fruit, which is always organic, but because it's only grown in an area of Southeast Asia where pesticides are never used. Make sure there's no erythritol. Usually it says monk fruit, and then you look and the first ingredient is erythritol. No, thank you. Even date sugar or even raw, organic, unprocessed cane sugar.
What about raw honey? Like, I'm in Michigan, so I bought raw, unrefined honey from Michigan.
Yes, and also honey has some other health benefits.
Yeah.
I would say not a lot of honey because it does have a high glycemic index, but I have a drink every single morning where I grate some ginger. I put a teaspoon or half a teaspoon of good organic honey and some lemon, and I use that as a detox every single morning. It's an Ayurvedic recipe. So yeah, as long as it's good, organic, natural honey, not refined and not too much, but absolutely. But what you do want to stay away from are things like Splenda and NutraSweet, which are just as bad. In fact, research has shown they're actually worse in creating brain inflammation than even white refined sugar.
And the reason this is so important, you mentioned in aging in the brain, is at 85 years old, 50% of the people are projected to have Alzheimer or do have Alzheimer. I mean, this is ridiculous. My mother got dementia, but she always had pies and cookies and cakes and Little Debbie's and all these, and she always ate out. You're getting the processed food. Even though she was primarily vegetarian, it was all those processed things, and she ended up getting that.
And I'll tell you about my mom, who actually passed away in her 90s and never ate that kind of stuff. I was kind of raised in a healthy household. And even the day before she died, we were still watching another way to keep your brain active. She loved Jeopardy. She loved Wheel of Fortune. She loved How Do You Be a Millionaire or whatever. That was one of her other favorites. Anything that kept her mind active. She did the New York Times crossword puzzle every day, but she never ate that stuff. And her brain was so sharp, sharper than, my friends who were in their 60s at the time. So yeah, you got to stay away from that stuff. It's like, big pharma is racing for the cure for Alzheimer's and dementia and offering these drugs that only work in like 0.1% of the population. But if people would just make lifestyle choices, then they wouldn't have to deal with that kind of stuff. And people think Alzheimer's is hereditary. It's not. Only 8% of people with Alzheimer's have one or the other parent who has Alzheimer's. So it's not like inevitable that you're going to get it if your parents got it. And even if your parents did have Alzheimer's, make these lifestyle changes and the inevitability is going to go way down. I'm going to tell you, exercise is another key. And if people want to know what kind of exercise, there's compelling research that's concluded that there are 2 methods of exercise that will slow down the aging process better than others by preventing cellular aging. You might be surprised to hear what they are. One is endurance training, which means like biking, aerobics, or rowing, things that really get your heart pumping. But the one that was even slightly better at anti-aging is what's called high intensity interval training, or HIIT for short. And so it's very high intensity bursts of cardio exercise followed by equal or longer bursts of rest. So think 30 minutes of running or sprinting or really fast walking, followed by a minute or two of slow walking or slow jogging. So the study published in the European Heart Journal examined the effects of different exercise over a 6-month period on hundreds of people. And the participants were told to perform all different types of exercise. But researchers found that high intensity interval training actually increase telomere length. You know, telomeres are those nucleotide sequences found at the end of our chromosomes. And when they shorten, aging occurs. Well, high intensity interval training and right under that, endurance training were the only modalities found to increase telomere length, thus producing that anti-aging effect.
And does that have to do with the brain and the Alzheimer and the memory too? What do the telomeres do?
The telomeres are just an indication of aging. I don't know the exact explanation, just to be honest, of telomeres, because I learn everything from Ronnie, from my Harvard researcher partner who teaches the anti-aging course with me. But all I know is that she says that we want to do things to keep those telomeres long. And all of the things that I mentioned, the diet, and I'm going to talk about one other thing before we go, they all lengthen the telomeres. But I just thought that it was interesting that anything that gets your heart pumping is what lengthens the telomeres, but HIIT was the best. The other thing, though, is when you do get into your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, you do also want to do strength training so that your bones stay strong and your musculature and all of that stays supple. And that is done not through getting the heart pumping, but actually resistance bands or weights. You absolutely want to do that so you don't get brittle bone disease when you're in your later years. The one thing is, in terms of bone density and more supple musculature, it also is important that you get sound sleep. And most people think it's the length of sleep that is what contributes to your health and the clarity of your mind and all of that. But surprisingly, it's actually when you go to sleep. Because when you are asleep, it's the only time that human growth hormone becomes abundant in your system. And as we age, it just so happens that human growth hormone does decrease, but our bodies still react like they did when we were cavemen. And when we were cavemen and women, when that sun went down, we went to sleep. And so when the sun went down, our body started producing human growth hormone. Well, guess what? Our body still starts producing human growth hormone when the sun goes down. So the peak of human growth hormone is usually between 10 and 12 because the cavemen were asleep for several hours already. And then when the clock strikes 12, the production of human growth hormone majorly decreases. So what you want to do is if you want to grab that maximal human growth hormone production window, make sure that you're asleep between the hours of 10 and 12. And again, great for immunity, great for brain clarity, great for bone density, great for all of those things that are considered anti-aging. You want to maximize your human growth hormones.
Really interesting because I wear my garment. I have more REM sleep than I do deep sleep. I don't have a lot of deep sleep and I'm a real light sleeper and I am dreaming all the time. And it's just miserable because I wake up and I feel like I didn't sleep. So is there anything we can do so we can have a more restful sleep? And is it important to have restful sleep?
Yes. Well, one thing is go to bed before 10, but also one other tip is melatonin, which helps you have deep sleep, is only produced in darkness. So the darker the room, the more melatonin will be produced. So you definitely want to either have an eye mask that really blocks out the light. I just throw a black t-shirt over my eyes, but I learned that from Ronnie as well. And so then you have much deeper sleep, or blackout curtains, or both. The darker the room, you shouldn't even be able to see your hand in front of you when you go to sleep. That's how dark you should have the room if you want to maximize on the melatonin and get the deepest sleep. But speaking of eyes, there is one other thing I want to tell you, that science is saying that one of the most insidious causes of aging of the skin, as well as damage to the eyes, is blue light. And that is what is coming out of our computer screens. The blue light that emits, and that's in addition to the electromagnetic fields that we are just swimming in, but that's a whole topic for another day, although we do a whole section on that in our Ageless course. But that light that comes off the screen of our devices called blue light is known to have long-term health effects. Even the health letter of the Harvard Medical School in July of 2021 said that blue light can affect your sleep. So you want to turn off your computer at least an hour, preferably 2 hours. Don't fall asleep with the TV on. That's blue light emitting from your screen, and it's going to affect the depth of your sleep. But also the blue light has been shown to cause disease, including cancer, diabetes, heart disease, obesity. And studies also say that continued exposure to blue light over time can lead to damage retinal cells and eventually to vision problems like age-related macular degeneration, even blindness. And blue light exposure is a particular concern for children, especially really little ones, because their developing eyes absorb more blue light than adults, putting them at greater risk of long-term damage. In fact, some researchers are saying that macular degeneration and blindness are going to be the biggest health crises when our kids who spend hours a day exposing their eyes to blue light become adults. Everything is online in their poor little precious eyes. And what you want to do is, for yourself and for the little ones, blue light blocking glasses. These are my blue light blocking glasses that I always use. But in addition to my blue light blocking glasses, because I am so fanatic about my eyes, is I also have a blue light blocking screen. It's a film that you put over your computer screen, and it blocks like 96% of the blue light. I also have it on my phone. I also have EMF blockers on my phone, of course. But for our kids, the little ones who probably aren't going to wear blue light blocking glasses, just make sure that you have blue light protection on their iPads, on their computers, on their phones. Last Christmas, Hanukkah, I have 17 godchildren. I gave them all blue light blocking screens for their computers, and they wanted like bicycles, and I'm giving them blue light blocking screens, but I care about their eyes.
So will you give us a link?
You don't want to just go onto Amazon and get any blue light blocking screen. You want to get medically approved devices. So yes, I will give you the URLs for the best companies to use. And now one other thing I have to say, if that isn't enough reason to put on a blue light blocking screen, blue light also has been shown to age the skin. So if you are going to be in front of your computer screen and you don't have a blue light blocker, then you'll want to wear an SPF sunscreen of at least 40, because dermatologist Stephanie Williams said we're now seeing increased data on the potential long-term harms of blue light at our skin. She said our digital devices are swiftly becoming the silent agers of our generation. And Dr. Murad, he's the dermatologist behind his own skincare line. He said in that same article in Bazaar magazine, he said spending 4 8-hour workdays, which many people do, in front of your computer exposes your skin to the same amount of skin damaging energy as 20 minutes laying in the strong midday sun. Nobody in their right mind is going to go out and lay in the sun like we used to do when we were kids. And nobody is going to lay in the sun and bake their face for 20 minutes. You don't even want to bake your face for 1 minute. But 4 8-hour days in front of the computer does as much damage to our skin. Get yourself and your kids blue light blocking screens. And if you are as fanatic as I am, get yourself some blue light blocking glasses as well.
Oh, that's great. What brilliant ideas. So let's summarize. I had down diet, exercise, mindset, right? The happy stuff, and sleep. Is anything I missed? Was that the 4 keys?
And also the blue light blockers.
Yeah, blue light and electromagnetic and all that. Those come in too. So we'll have to have some more about that. But wow, this is great. Before we wrap here, I want you to do 2 things. I want you to talk about your free gift that you have for us, and also your course. And I think if people download your Ageless book, which is your gift, then they will get invited to the course, and I'm going to be taking it. My ladies will, and I'm telling you, it is so chock full and it's fun. It's really fun the way you do it.
Yes. Well, my ebook is called Ancient and Modern Secrets for Lifelong Radiance. And I wrote it with Ronnie. So, of course, it's filled with the research that substantiates everything we said. Today, we shared 4 or 5 different points. We even teach a breath technique that is good for slowing down the aging process in our ebook. And it is just Yes to Success, which is the name of my company, yes2success.com/ageless ebook. Very easy to remember. Ageless ebook. And then, as you said, we do our ageless course every year, and we do it in December. We intentionally do it in December because December is kind of the time where their will breaks down. So we give them a lot of inspiration for eating healthy over the holidays and making these healthy lifestyle changes into the new year. So our next ageless course is December 9th and 10th. What I shared with you today and in the book is just the tip of the iceberg. Our courses all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and we give a lot of information.
We also get access to it afterwards. It's not just live. So we can go back and do it like, with your daughter, or do it with a girlfriend, or like I'm doing it with a whole group of my clients and people that were in my group. And that is so much fun because that's where you can really share and get some support too.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. And I know there's breakouts and everything during the weekend course too, which is so much fun.
Yes. And we teach something called super brain yoga, which is a yoga for the brain. And we teach yoga things that you can do because a lot of people carry stress on their shoulders and then their neck. So it's not just sitting and listening to 2 talking heads. It's a lot of interaction. And we teach something called Yoga Nidra, which is the yoga of sleep that helps people sleep more deeply. And we teach several meditations and breath, and it's a great course, if I do say so myself.
It's great. So, Debra, we are here. We're at the end. I knew it was going to go really fast, but it's been so much fun.
And the last thing I just want to say to people is hopefully you'll join us for the course in December, but get a head start. Start doing these things that we shared today, and then you'll be that much further ahead when we add on some new things on December.
Absolutely. The 9th and 10th is the live. So thank you for being here. We really are so thrilled you came back.
Thank you, Katana, and thank you for everything. And thank you for your beautiful heart. And thank you for inviting me because, like I say, I love to spend time with you and I love your community. So it's an honor and a pleasure.
Thanks so much. Okay. And everyone, if you love the show, and I know you do, then be sure to like it and subscribe. It's so important. And if you want to get on our list, so then you can have access to all the free gifts and the articles and the resources and be invited to our community, then go to joinsmartwomen.com. And when you do, you'll get a welcome email and you'll never miss a thing. It just comes out once a month, but it'll keep you in the know. So thank you so much for being here, and go out and live with more purpose, passion, and prosperity. Smart Women Talk is brought to you by Smart Women's Empowerment, a 501c3 nonprofit project of United Charitable. Music by Bill Lucas from his album When It Rains. Available on Apple Music and Spotify. Catch us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast, and be sure to join our free community at joinsmartwomen.com to access all our free Smart Women resources.